Well, I don't mind microphones. As a news reporter for 15 years or so, I've been using a microphone my whole life, I feel like. So welcome everyone. I'm Sara Morris. I'm the owner of StoryCatchers Media. We are a video production company. We do marketing videos. We work with doctors and medical groups. We also do videos for lawyers. Basically do videos for anyone who needs a video. We're all about kind of content making, which is kind of something that I think all of you guys are into with web designing, web building. I'm a little bit different than most of the speeches you're going to be hearing today, but hopefully you can take away something and find something useful in this. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is why video. A lot of people are thinking, I don't think it's necessary to have a video on a website. I don't think it's necessary to have a video on my social media, and specifically about a business. I think all of you guys work with clients. I work with lots of different clients' businesses, and many people aren't seeing the connection with video in business. And today I want to tell you a little bit why. First, by 2018, 84% of the internet traffic will be video. 84%. That's a lot of people. I think these days most people don't want to read anything. Unfortunately, when you put all this lovely words on your website, most people aren't really wanting to read. They're wanting to watch something. They want to be compelled. And we're in the digital age. So videos allow a viewer to see and hear all about a business in 2 minutes or less, and that's really important. A video allows us to encapsulate an entire business in 2 minutes. You can tell a story about everything the business does and get it all in there in 2 minutes, and you can do that because you have audio and you have the visuals to show something. And 46% of people are more likely to seek out information about a product or service after seeing it in an online video. So what this is really saying is that most people these days, and it's probably you guys in the room are feeling the same way, whenever we hear about a new product or a new service that we think we want to check out, we run to our phones, right? Google whatever that product or service may be. We look at it, and within a few minutes, we can pretty much be sold on something and ready to buy. Long gone are those brick and mortar buildings where we go out and seek out, some kind of service or product. We're sold online. So, how do you make a business video stand out? Well, you tell a good story. And apparently a bulldog on a skateboard is popular today. Cheers to Brad Frost for also having that. I just think that's hilarious when I saw that in your PowerPoint earlier. But really, it is about telling a good story, a good business story. And let's face it, this picture is from a video that we did with a pet daycare company. And so, of course, their story is very easy to tell. They've got cute dogs everywhere, right? But if you think about it, most of our clients work in, a brick and mortar building. They have conference rooms, cubicles. It's not that exciting. So how do you tell a good story, based on what you're left with here with a business? Well, first of all, we need to look at why you should tell a story in a video. First of all, everyone loves a good story. Think about it. Stories have been around since cavemen. And even think about it relative to us. When we were little kids, what did we do? We had a nighttime bedtime story read to us, right? As we got older, we read novels, right? Nowadays, storytelling is such a buzzword that you see it in almost every ad, right? It's because it works. So stories can change the way we think, act, and feel. And this is really important. And this is the reason why I think storytelling is so apparent in anything we do, really, based on the web, but especially in video, because you want to tap into people's actions, you want to tap into how they feel and the emotional level, because that's what makes them memorable. Sometimes we see something, we watch something, we don't maybe remember exactly what it's all about, the whole storyline, but we felt something. We felt happiness, maybe we felt a warm fuzzy feeling. And we take that feeling with us, And that's how we remember a brand. So what is a story? Well, in the simplest form, a beginning, middle, and end, right? But good stories need a dramatic arc, right? Starting with setting the scene. It can be as simple as, right, once upon a time, like when we were kids and heard little stories. In the middle, you need to build the action, some sort of conflict or tension. It's just like any great novel has, right? And in the end, you've got to have a resolution. It's the basics of every story, and this is a basic of storytelling on any level of where you want to apply it. Okay, so next I wanted to stop talking a little bit about storytelling and video and why this is so important and so neat. I want to show you an example of how it can work for you guys. If you're interested in doing video on your websites, if you're working with video production companies and maybe you're looking to make it better, I want you to check out the story we did with a sales coach. Now, this is a good example of a video, a typical video of a typical client that you might have that works in an office. They have a lot of cubicles, boring conference room, and this guy's a sales coach. When you think about it, it's like, oh, there's nothing really exciting about this. How are you going to make a video that everyone's going to watch, based on this? Well, we ended up telling a story, and I want you to watch specifically in this video that I'm going to show you the dramatic arc of this video in this beginning, middle, and end. And the video itself, not the audio, but the video itself tells a story in it. And you can see a central character, his name is Carlos. At the beginning has an issue, in the middle takes action on that issue, and on the end it's resolved.
Carlos Withens. Hello?
There's lots of sales problems that people have.
You're not
We
interested.
just don't have enough salespeople. We're not growing fast enough. We've got too many people saying no to us.
Hello?
If you struggle with any type of sales problems, I can help. Hi, I'm Chuck Terry, owner of Sandler Training in Lone Tree, Colorado.
Well, I've got some things for you.
I have an incredible passion about working with business owners and sales professionals.
With production numbers.
They're good.
We brought in Chuck and the Sandler training program, and we've seen dramatic results.
It's a good month.
Yeah.
When I started working with Terry and his team, I noticed right away they didn't have a sales system in place. They didn't have the right confidence or the right attitude about making outbound cold calls. Their technique was sloppy and quite salesy. I designed a system specifically around making the right kind of outbound sales calls. We rewrote their scripts so they don't sound like a typical salesperson. It's more lifelike, and it's a two-way conversation that's friendly.
Here's how you do it. Do you struggle with that, Carlos? I mean, pretty much you know how to do this, right?
I think they've gained a lot of confidence with the techniques through the Sandler training.
I not only help sales teams get back on track, but sometimes it's a matter of knowing how to grow your business effectively. I worked with New Electric, a company that was already growing fast.
That's like a couple $100,000.
At the time, they were chasing every lead they came across. What we were able to help them do is focus on the right leads for their business.
Good to see you.
That's why we looked at Chuck Terry. What he did was just turned over our sales department, made them so much more effective. Actually, we went from 4 million to 7 million from 2012 to 2013.
Here's what I want you to do. What you're really getting is someone that's been a lifetime entrepreneur. Additionally, I've been in the training and development industry for over 14 years. We are going to change the way your business functions. You're going to be more profitable and you're going to be more successful.
On target for another record-breaking month.
If you're not getting the results you're looking for and you're not getting all the success you set out in business to get,
Really? Fantastic. Well, I'll tell you
it's
what.
time to do something different. I'm Chuck Terry. Give me a call. Let's get started.
Okay, did you guys see the story there with the video and how we kind of created a story within a story? I mean, in the essence is that a lot of business people love to talk about their successes, right, in their business, and it's great. But you have to kind of build on that, and he wanted to talk about everything he does in his business. So Chuck, he's a very successful salesperson, and he talked about all the things he can do to help businesses grow and succeed, and he had great testimonials, right? But what we also did on top of that is tell a visual story. So at the beginning you saw Carlos, he's stressing out with his stress ball on the phone trying to make these cold calls, right? Then, as we go through the video, you see him in the conference room in a training session with Chuck Cherry, and Chuck is saying, Carlos, you got it, are you getting this? And Carlos is shaking his head, and the next thing you know, we're going to the ending of the story, and we see Carlos on the phone, and he's like, yeah, throwing his stress ball away, and then the next thing you know, he's like, yes, I got a sale, you know? And it's a little visual story that we weaved in with the business story. And it's really important, I think, to find these stories within business. It's what makes it interesting. You know, when I first stood up here and started talking about Chuck as a sales coach, and we did a video with him, I mean, how exciting, really, were you guys to watch this video? It doesn't sound that great, right? I mean, when I first was presented with this, I was thinking, wow, okay, you know, this is boring. You don't want to tell the business owner, you know, your business is kind of boring, you know, but that's our jobs as creatives to make it fun, bring it to life, and tell a story. And that's why storytelling works so well, because we all kind of remember stuff. And, you know, my next thing I want to point out is the story itself. You know, it's not just about the facts, you know, as to why it's memorable. You know, yes, we were kind of taken into Chuck's world. We saw, you know, at the end that he's a successful storyteller or salesperson, right? But it wasn't the facts that made it, you know, something to stick with us. We didn't make the story one-dimensional by just using, you know, Chuck on camera standing at and I don't know how many videos we've seen of this online, right? Some guy sitting behind his desk, right? And you've got some bad lighting coming in, and he sounds like he's talking in a tin can. He's like, hey, welcome to my business or my law firm. We see a lot of law videos, right? Yeah, and they've got they're holding up their camera, maybe their selfie cam, you know, and you can kind of hear them, you can kind of see them, but this is a video, and they're going to tell you all the things that they do that's great about their company, and you should do business with them, right? Yeah, it's not compelling. It's not something we want to watch. It's not interesting. And frankly, at the end of the day, you're not that compelled to do business with someone like that, right? So this is why you want to use video and not just make a one-dimensional story of a person on camera talking about their story. At the end of the day, you want to find the emotion. In Chuck's video, I think we really found the emotion that's something that everyone can relate to. And it's just being frustrated with your job. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've been challenged and frustrated at my job many a times, right? And it's an emotion that is relatable, and that's what you want to find in your story, is when you're telling these things, you want to find an emotion that's relatable to everyone, so they get it. You don't want to make things confusing, you don't want to hide things, you know, you want to make it so that people get it. And this is a simple emotion, frustrated at a job. We showed Carlos frustrated at a job, but then we showed a resolution, which is the ending of the story, of how he was able to solve that problem. So finding your business story, you know, I've been talking about this a little bit. It's easy to find a story when you're doing a doggy daycare or even any type of daycare, right? With little babies bouncing around. I mean, they're cute, they're fun, we love that kind of stuff, right? But that's not the real businesses and the clients that we're taking care of on a day-to-day basis. Those are the clients that we get on a special time, you know? Our real clients are the ones like Chuck that are, you know, at a desk like this guy, you know, have cubicles, have conference rooms. It's not that exciting. So you need to look for ideas within the business. And here's what I'm talking about. First, focus on a successful business outcome. So what does that mean? Well, think of Chuck's story. Chuck talked to me about how he had helped this business and grow, and specifically in sales, helping them with their cold calling techniques. So I said, okay, well, that's interesting. How are we going to visualize, you know, and then I go back and kind of storyboard all of this. How are we going to visualize cold calling and make it interesting, but at the same time kind of tell the story? And, you know, that's how we came up with the Carlos character, you know? And it was very simple. We just added him in as just little simple parts, but you got it, you know? That's what I mean by focusing on a successful business outcome. A lot of times businesses will say, well, I don't have a good story. They do. You just have to kind of dig and pry into them, you know, talk to them. Say, okay, well, what are some great things you have done? What are some successes in your business? Believe me, they're a business that's been around for a while. They've had some successes. And, you know, pry it out of them, and once they talk about that kind of stuff, you can find the story within that. Next, you can also find the story within brand or messaging. This doesn't always work with every business. Chuck and Point did not have a great brand or message that we could play with, really. But there are some national brands that have this kind of stuff, you know, that I can show you, for example, like Nike. Nike, just do it, right? You can take that brand, that message of just do it, and put it on anything. Some guy rock climbing, some guy snowboarding, whatever, jumping out of an airplane, you know, just do it, right? So you can play with the brand and tell a story based around that. The next thing I want to look at is the CEO's personal story of why he or she started the business. And this is typically something that I go to first when I talk to clients, when I'm trying to find a business story, is I ask them, well, what made you start your company? And usually it's a really good story. Now, sometimes you've got to take it down a little bit and work with it and mold it a little bit to make it into something that's good for marketing purposes. But I want to show you this next video that kind of showcases a really good personal story. And a lot of times in personal stories, it's very easy to find the emotion. Passion is one of the main emotions that come to mind. Most people are very passionate about something. It's the reason why they started their business. It's the reason why I started my business. I was passionate about video production. I had done video for 15 years in news, got tired of the news cycle, got tired of running around chasing stories, wanted to continue, though, to use my skill set and tell people's story and help them out. You know, so everyone kind of has something like that. In this story in particular, this is with this is with a nonprofit, and she is an executive director, and this is basically like a CEO of a company. And in this story, she's going to talk about why she had the passion and drive to be the executive director in this story, or in this nonprofit. You'll see in the story that she has a lot of emotion as to why she wanted to do this. And which is why I wrote here, most importantly, you need to find the emotion in the story, because you got to have something to tie someone in. It's the why do I care factor. It's something that we used to ask ourselves all the time in news. Every time I went out to do a story, every day was different. We would cover maybe a crime story, maybe some kind of scientific story, a weather story, whatever it may be. The facts may change, the characters may change, but there was one thing that always stayed the same, and that was the why do I care factor. And bringing that why do I care factor into a story, you can do that by finding the emotion in the story. And it doesn't have to be somebody crying, you know. We see someone crying on TV sometimes. It doesn't have to be that dramatic. It doesn't even have to be somebody laughing out loud. You can elicit that emotion and find that emotion within a story by finding some kind of a feeling. It gets back to the act, think, feel thing, where you can find, you know, something like, for example, the doggy daycare thing. The dog is cute. It gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling, you know. In Chuck's story, you see someone who's frustrated, so you feel the frustration with Carlos, and then you kind of see him going through it, and then you're happy for him at the end. You're like, you know, good, I'm glad this guy finally got it and he can cold call. Lots of different ways to find an emotion. So I want to show you this next video, and this is from the nonprofit, the Rocky Mountain Fisher House. And at first I went in there, and basically the Rocky Mountain Fisher House is a home away from home for veterans and their families when a veteran is sick. So a veteran's sick in the hospital, they have a free place to stay in this home. So they had all these ideas of how to tell these different stories, and we ended up trying to kind of telling 2 stories in one video, just like we did with Chuck, to kind of get across everything that we wanted to get across. You can always just tell one story. We like to be a little complicated, I guess. But I want you to notice in this story how it differs from Chuck's story in that it's a personal CEO story. So the first one I showed you was more or less the success of a business story, which you can find by talking to businesses. This is the one I think is the easiest story to find within a business, because most people who start a business, especially small companies, even larger companies as well, have some kind of story, right, as to why they started a business. So look at this example, and you can see just a different type of storytelling.
This is a way to give back to our active duty military and veterans who have given so much in service of their country. And we want it to be your home while you're here.
Whatever this is, it's good.
Here at the Fisher House, it's very much like a bed and breakfast. We have this beautiful communal living room, beautiful dining room that will seat 16 so that you can have that experience of having dinner with the family. Hi, my name is Melanie Starkman. I'm the president of the board of directors and the executive director of the Denver Fisher House Foundation. I am the daughter of a World War II, Korea, Vietnam deceased vet who was also disabled, and I am a disabled Marine Corps veteran. I was an air traffic controller.
Snake 1-2, giveaway to the 2 H-53s.
Served for almost 8 years. And when I moved to Colorado and heard about Fisher House, I knew I had to volunteer so that nobody would have to go through what I had gone through. And I was going through officer candidate school. I was in my last week of training, and I had a training accident, and I blew out both knees and both shoulders. I went through 10 surgeries and the rehab by myself. My mother could not afford to come up and stay with me. It's very difficult when you wake up from surgery and you know there's nobody there. That's why the Fisher House means so much to me, is because people have the chance to stay with their family while they're going through that. Our veterans and active duty that do come here are very ill patients. Many have come here for cancer treatment, many transplant. And when you have somebody that's that ill, it's a very, very stressful time for them.
Hi, I'm Lee Britton. I'm here in the Fisher House because I have leukemia.
Lee and Mary are a primary example of how the Fisher House works.
It's just a great place to come home to. It's been a lifesaver for us.
He cannot get the treatment that he needs in Colorado Springs, so they're able to come up here, stay at the house, and get the treatment that is so necessary for him. So we're literally right across the street.
We have a lot of time we have to be up here.
Okay.
We get blood lab work every day right now.
This is actually a flush.
I can stay up at the hospital with Lee till even 10 o'clock at night, knowing that I only have a short drive home.
There's so much that she does for me. She's been my rock.
And that's the beauty of the Fisher House. It takes that burden away, that you know that your family's going to be there with you. The fact that they can come here, there's no charge, no cost to them.
It is a home away from home.
Makes it a whole lot easier on us to get through all this.
Thank you for your service.
Many people will walk up to a service member and say thank you for your service, but another way of doing that is making a donation to the Fisher House.
So as you saw there, it was a good example of a CEO or in this case an executive director telling her story of passion. And we also combined the story of talking about the house in general and why they serve the veterans and the active duty military members. And so the point of all of this is that you've got to find emotion and you've got to find that story. So in conclusion here, just want to wrap up. Video is taking over the internet. We've showed you that 84%. That number is going to go up. People just don't want to read anymore. They don't want to. They want to look at cool stuff, you know. Which is why it's important to have video as part of the content you're producing online. As we look forward in online usage, no matter what you're doing, whether it's web design, whether you're building a website, whether you're doing digital marketing of some sort, online marketing, it's all about content in the end. And so when you're thinking about this, think about using video as a content in some kind of web design or whatever you guys are doing within your companies, because it is something that people are paying attention to and watching. But you have to have more than just a video, as I've shown you before. It's about more. It's about telling a compelling story, telling a good story. And this can go beyond just video production. This can go into web design and anything you guys are doing in your businesses as well. I would suggest taking that story that you find for that video and combining that and telling the story online and the website as well. So as you know, the online world is a competitive world. We're all out there fighting for attention, right? Wanting to get that edge up on our competition and the next guy that may be even doing something similar. Well, one way to get ahead of the competition is by telling a story that elicits emotion. You saw there at Chuck's story, we could have just sat him down at his desk, you know, set up a little camera in front of him and had him talk about his business and how great of a sales guy he is. It just wouldn't have been fun. It wouldn't have been interesting. And frankly, I don't even know if we would have even watched it or paid attention to it. Same with Melanie's story as an executive director of a nonprofit. We could have gone in, shot some pretty pictures of the house, shown some veterans, and called it a day, right? No, we actually told a story, and we found something that was very powerful, and that's Melanie's story of how she was injured in a training accident as a Marine. And she had to be in the hospital for almost a year, healing from both shoulders being blown out and both knees being blown out by herself. Her family could not afford to come down and stay with her. And so she had to heal on her own. And when she found out the Fisher House Foundation supplies a home away from home for families when the veteran's in the hospital, she remembered, her pain and suffering, and she went out there and started becoming very passionate about raising money for this foundation. But that's that story that we're going to remember this foundation from here on because of Melanie's story. You want to make a viewer feel something powerful which inspires them to want to do business with you. And I think at the end of the day, if I had one takeaway, it would be this statement. I think there's so much going on online, there's so much flashy stuff, there's so many things happening. People have a lot of choices when it comes to doing business with you, and somebody else, and your competitor. Making them and convincing them, I guess I should say, of doing business with you really takes a strategy. And one strategy I think that maybe everyone should consider is doing a video and telling a great story, and even taking that story beyond the video and putting it into the website content, and building that brand and that messaging around that story. My presentation was pretty quick today, but that's all I have for you guys. If you have questions, I'd be happy to help you with finding a business story, telling that story, and video production if you're looking for tips on maybe finding a video producer and a video production company that can help you in your area. What to look out for as far as when you're talking to these people, that maybe finding that right company that can tell the story and do what you would like to do. I will be here for the rest of the day, and my right-hand guy here, Everett, who's running our videos over here, he's the one that actually shot and edited all this stuff and did our wonderful work. We've been working together for, gosh, I don't even know how many years. We worked together in news and started this company, and it's been a roller coaster. But we both will be around, and we'd be happy to answer any questions. I know this is kind of like outside the box of what you guys are doing as far as websites, but I think there is some connection with storytelling and with building content, because at the end of the day, we got to add the content, right, to that website. So any questions or anything, comments? Yeah.
I have a question. I totally agree with what you're saying. So I run a marketing agency, and we have 15% strike rate on call to action on video, so it absolutely is value add. But what I would ask from your experience is, do you see, first of all, I think you're 84%. Does that include porn? That's a big number. So there, and that I believe. But what do you guys see with regards to when people who are coming and knocking on the door for you? What do you see as far as the mix with regards to this real, the real person storytelling versus animation?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. A lot of people don't know, well, when I talk to business owners, a lot of them don't know what kind of video they want. They kind of just say, I want a video, and then we have to explore kind of what they want. A lot of people think they want animation, and then they realize that they don't like it as much. We do work with an animator. It's not our thing. We're much more into telling the real story and showing real video. I don't have a problem with animation. It's really hard to connect, I think, with animation, because at the end of the day, people connect with people. And so our thoughts is that we always try to push for the real-time video of actual people and showing the story within the business and showing the business. Certain times, though, it's better in an animation. So, I will never say, because all of this is very subjective. I would never say, don't do this or do that, because some people are more drawn towards animation, and some people aren't. So I would say it depends on your audience and what your, and do maybe even a tester on it for a company. But we always try to push for real stories being told and using real people and not animation.
we found, and this is measurable results. We found that if you want somebody to do something, we found better results with the animation for our subjects. With the real-time video, if you could get something with no sound and just a bit of activity, we found that to be super effective. But managing those productions as far as investment in them, let's say 1 year's investment in media, it's so hard because if you needed to adjust or sometimes it's clunky in between the first video we did and the second video we did. So I think that's why we see that with animation is more consistent. But I'm guessing, I'm asking actually. Those are just our friends. And then for web developers, I'm sure there's a few of us in the room managing the deliverable on the video itself is extremely difficult at the moment, and it's expensive. So with my clients are all pro, so they host the videos in-house on their own website, as opposed to like a YouTube. So like I was checking the website that you did there, and it's all YouTube. And a lot of pro sites don't want that because they don't want backup videos behind there or a competitor video coming up. That sort of
right.
So for web developers, I know a huge concern is how do you actually deliver that effectively and efficiently through to the media, through to the
consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you bring up a few good points. And this is why it's, I think, really important to have a good video production team. Since our background is in news, all of these stories, we shot in a day, the whole thing. I mean, we try to keep just the high quality of our video up to kind of keep up with the next generation, so that you can keep up and kind of use it as file video to move forward or whatever. But I can see your point with animation on that. As far as deliverables, yeah, we have a YouTube site. We also have embedded our video. Our webmaster is Cliff, so you can ask him why he's doing what he's doing. But yeah, I know for a fact that one of the things because since we're a video production company, I want to show all my videos, right? Because that's what I do. But that just weighs down your whole site. No one can get it to load up, to watch all this stuff. So we kind of had to pick and choose what we actually put on the site and what we used in YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel, and that's kind of what we're looking at. But then you got to deal with the ads. It's a really hard thing to manage. I think if you only have like 1 or 2 videos, you can probably embed them, and I don't know, you guys are the web designers, you could tell me if it would weigh it down too much. Most of my customers don't have but 1 video on their website. I'm not finding a lot of people. I mean, we're producing videos, more than 1 video for a client, but they're looking for not just a website video. They want to do a lot of social media stuff. So then, now Facebook, you can just upload it right into Facebook now. Twitter, the same thing, and they even allow it to be viewed more often, So we're working on different platforms as well. I don't know what the great answer is on that. I think we're still kind of struggling for that as well. But it's necessary to have the video. And sometimes if it's going to be on a YouTube site and you're going to maybe have an ad from your competitor, hopefully the ad's not that great, right? But I mean, sometimes you got to take it. But I think at the end of the day, it's worth having the video online. So, yes?
So here's a way I have a question for you. Have you started thinking about virtual reality and actually sucking people in? I mean, the technology's probably not there yet, but it's like the next step.
Yeah, that's a good question. No, we're still dealing with reality of the people, it is interesting to see what the next step is with video. It's amazing how far animation has gone even. Like Pixar animation looks so lifelike now. It's just amazing to me how much you can do with different types of video. You can buy video, how cheap video is. I mean, before, I remember cameras costing, tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah, like $40,000 we used to buy for one camera in news, right? And then we've got lights that are like $1,000 each, right? Equipment nowadays is way cheaper, so and it's better. It's the better quality. So your budget to make a video is a lot cheaper now to have a real quality, nice looking video. So I don't know what the future is on all of this, but I can say that it's interesting how it's not just about the technology, but it's about people and what they want as an experience, what they want to be brought into that virtual reality experience, what they want to be brought into some kind of animation type thing, or do they want to act like they're really walking in the front door of your office? Do they want to get the experience that they're in your boardroom, you know? I don't know what the answer is to that. I mean, really it's subjective. It's what people want. You got to find that out.
The one thing I would say is it's tools for your toolbox. You know, virtual reality, or you know, don't forget about the multi-tree videos that we talked about, or now there's the 360 video.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to whatever the format, whatever the tools are, you still got to stick with the basics of storytelling. That will never change, and I think that's kind of our point, is that you still got to have beginning, middle, and end. You got to have the compelling moments. You got to have that emotion, and it doesn't matter what the platform is. And yeah, I'm sure my camera's going to evolve into that someday. Or you know, I mean, remember IMAX was a big thing for a while. Oh, got to do that. And 4K is the next thing. That's actually probably our next purchase is 4K. I mean, I'm already looking at replacing this camera with the next version, which is 4K. I'm shooting at 1080 right now. 4K is coming. And it's going to be all over YouTube. It's already on YouTube, but it's all going to be on Facebook. I mean, that's probably the next thing. So forget about virtual reality. 4K. What's that?
Little first things first.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just
baby steps.
Right.
Well, it's like any technology. The minute I buy it, it's obsolete.
Don't say that. Give it a year.
I mean, I'm waiting on my drone that I ordered a year ago. I was just looking at that this morning. DJI just released a new drone that beats it, and Vantage still hasn't rolled out the drone I'm waiting on. It was supposed to have shipped by now. And you know, someone pointed that out. It's like you guys are just going into production, and already the technology's ahead of it.
It's old, yeah.
So
yeah,
you know,
and that's very
true. You can't
true.
worry about that. You got to worry about the storytelling and the marketing that you're doing, not about what the tool is.
I just really turned on to Shakespeare, so. You know, I really appreciate what you're saying. There's some stuff it never gets old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I was bringing it back with the story and the background of storytelling. It's been around since the cavemen, you know? I mean, that's the basic premise of where we've kind of evolved and talked to each other and communicated with each other, was telling a story, right? And even when we're really young, that's what we learn the first thing. We hear a story, a bedtime story, right, from our parents. So I think storytelling is definitely the background to all of this, but yeah, technology always helps. It makes it look better, right? So, which is, you know, for real. I mean, videos, when I walk into a video, you know, a client's office and we talk about doing a video for them, the first thing I think, okay, what's going to be the cool stuff? What's going to be the amazing part that we can watch and see? Because I'm just like most other people with, you know, a little ADD that don't like to watch boring stuff. You know, we punch on, you know, for a second. I don't know how many times on any social media site nowadays, videos start playing for me. Everyone's posting video. And we have a choice to stop and actually watch it or keep going on the feed, you know, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and you know, keep going. But what makes us stop and watch? Something sucking us in. That's what you got to find in your stories, is find that thing that's going to suck the audience in, you know, within the story. Anything else that you guys want to talk about, or any questions? All right, well, thank you so much.